ahead and call the meeting to order at 5:04. Can I get someone to make a motion to review and accept the agenda, please?
So moved.
Is there a second? Perfect. All those in favor of the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great. Communications with parents, citizens, and staff. Is there anybody there who wants to speak to us?
No, but I would say at this part of the agenda, for your information, we are letting Let's Talk go.
Oh.
Let's Talk
Okay.
costs us 20 grand, something insane, $20,000. And our new communication coordinator, formerly tech coach, has created an internal program that's called Reach Out.
Yeah.
Just enough difference so we're not sued. But it will do the same sort of thing. So there'll be a button on the website. It can go to the board. It can go to schools. It can go to the superintendent. We sort of track it internally, all for free.
Wow.
Oh, that's great. Okay, well, that's good to know. Let's see. Consent agenda. Can I get someone to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second. Is that Jessica?
Okay, all of those in the, that approve the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Great, consent agenda passes. We will move on to the superintendent's informational report. It's all yours, Kristen.
Yeah, not much that wasn't included in the OBU and the BUU updates. Summer central office summer hours start at the end of this week. Food service contract renewal. Again, you all voted to award the Abbey Group the contract. We have the Barstow scholarship recipients. Big work happening this summer around the SU is focused on safety. Tyler's doing a ton of work this summer with a team. Equity, strategic planning, communications, and curriculum. And I think the only other thing is that we did let parents know, and we've chatted about it a couple of times in school board meetings, but all students will receive information over the summer about PEBT benefits, even if you don't qualify for free and reduced lunch. So we'll make sure that as soon as that releases, we notify parents again. That's it for me.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Kristen? Okay. Then we are going to move on to our presentation by Tyler on the overview of curriculum. Tyler, want to take it away?
Yeah, let me just share my screen here real quick. Share. And slideshow here. There we go. Okay. So, let's jump right in here. So, you know who I am. So this is our team though. So, director, I'm Tyler there. So, our assistant to the director is Jess Morse Davis. She is phenomenal. Usually if you think it, she's got it done before it comes out of your brain. She is phenomenal and really great to work with. Then we have our coaching team here, our CIA team, and what they do. Max Berman, he's the technology integration coach, transitioning to our coordinator of communications and outreach next year. Laura King's an instructional coach for pre-K to 6. Susan Hennessy is an instructional coach for 7 through 12. Joni Wisdahl is our MTSS coach. Susanna White is our equity and engagement coach. And then James Culp is our data literacy coach. And then also with that crew is our interventionists, which are in all the various buildings. So that's who we are. So then what do we do? Rutland Northeast supports students learning through high-quality instruction, intervention, and assessment, and supports individuals learning towards meeting required state standards in all of the categories below. So those are all of our classes, if you will, or all of our disciplines that we teach. So now you know what we do. How do we do it? So we basically, the curriculum team focuses under 4 pillars. First one being there is effective instruction, equity and inclusion, supporting students, and then social emotional learning. So everything that we do comes under these categories. Let me get there. Sorry, that's it. Can you read that okay? Just see if I can make it a little bigger.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, that's right,
It's
can't
bad.
zoom in, yeah.
Folks online can see it.
Yeah, so anyway, so our first one there, effective instruction. So we want to make sure the academic rigor is consistent and for all students and they receive the same time and space to get their work done, to master their learning outcomes. The second piece there that I'm really passionate about is we want to make sure that all of our learning outcomes demand analysis, manipulation, and application. So no longer are we just asking for simple recall answers. We want our students to take the information they're learning and manipulate it, use it, apply it somewhere in their life. So that's how we know they've truly learned it. They've actually taken it and changed something because of what they've learned. So then equity and inclusion. We want to make sure we create an environment where our students are respected, students and teachers feel respected, and they're connected to one another. And then also, we want to make sure that we are creating challenging, thoughtful learning experiences that include student perspectives and values. Again, we want to make sure that our students are comfortable and our teachers are comfortable in the same environment so they can pursue their goals. Supporting students. Here's a big one here is meeting students where they're at. That is a huge thing that we want to make sure that we are doing for our students. Our students come to us at all ability levels, all cognitive levels, all levels, social emotionally. We want to make sure that we are meeting them where they're at and that we are moving them forward from that. And how we do that is by implementing robust systems of intervention and support. Again, we are always working with our kids to make sure that they are where they need to be and our teachers are really personalizing their learning so that they are reaching their goals, as I said before. Social and emotional learning, we're diving into an acronym here, multiple tier systems of support or layers of support for social and emotional learning, otherwise known as MTSS. And then also making sure that we have physically safe, supportive, engaging learning environments to promote all students in their emotional development. Again, we are making sure that we are taking care of our kids as a whole, social, emotionally, and academically. So some of the things we've done this year for professional development, under the umbrella of inclusive teaching and learning, all of our teachers participated in one of these different strands, and they did so in October, March, and then at the end of the year here. Just yesterday was their final class, if you will, or final PD session in one of these strands. What you see there is Universal Design for Learning, UDL, Trauma-Informed Instructional Practices, Data for Equity, NVC is Nonviolent Communication, and then also embedding, another acronym, SEL, Social Emotional Learning and Academic Instruction, and then also Inclusive Classroom Practices. All of these were led by our coaching team. Each coach had a strand that they taught, and UDL was broken up pre-K 6 and 7-12. So then also some of our large projects we took on this year. What we're working on currently, we actually had a meeting about today, was the Equity Action Plan. We have a draft of that we're actively tearing apart and ripping through and making sure that we are being very thoughtful in what we're planning, knowing that is a very large job. And for those of you who are sticking around for our OVU board, you'll hear more about that later. But again, that is a very, very big project that we are working on as a CIA team. Then we have a new benchmark assessment coming in next year, STAR 360. That is replacing Edmentum. And that's given 3 times a year in the fall, winter, and spring to gauge where our students are at, and we can adjust the curriculum and supports for kids based off of those test scores. Another big thing that the whole state had to dive into this year was Cognia, or VCAP. That was replacing SBAC, which is our state mandated testing or federal mandated testing. That was a huge lift, an extremely huge lift by all of our admin, our coaching team, our teachers. It was a brand new platform, and we had a very tight window of when to learn, how to use it, how our students could use it and interact with the program. And then the assessment window was also small, I would say, for this year. But we all the kids took it with fidelity, went off without a hitch. Our teachers were prepared, our administrators were prepared, our coaches helped out a ton, and we got it done. And I think we did well with it too. That's the thing. We didn't just check a box and say, hey, okay, we did this. We did well with it. And then another thing that's ongoing right now is curriculum mapping. The teacher leader pre-K 6 teacher leader group started in December of this year, basically tearing apart our curriculum, tweaking, updating, and mapping that curriculum. And then they're going to be joined in with our 7-12 crew in the fall. and with the goal of having that mapped out and a skeleton of our curriculum by the end of next year, so that we can, again, adjust our instruction and make sure that we are serving our kids the best we can. That is a very large project. We have actually, our teacher leader group's going to be working over the summer a little bit on this with our new incoming assistant superintendent, Debbie Alexander. She'll be leading that group. So again, it's a very big project, and it's going to be great for our teachers and our students alike once we have that process in play. Also, that's a living document too. That's not something we just check the box and it's done. That's just something we're going to be continuing to look at and to overhaul. So I know I threw a lot at you, a lot of acronyms. Does anyone have any questions?
Anyone have any questions for Tyler?
Do you know what
No?
the participation rate is looking like yet
I have not. No, I do not.
for the state testing?
For state testing, no, we do not. The state right now, actually, what they're trying to do is help us clean up rosters. So, yeah. But
Do you expect that the metrics you get back from Cognia will be easy to compare with the previous SBAC results, or is it a whole new ballgame?
it's a whole new ballgame. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to compare. So that's not going to be a possibility. One thing that is nice to hear, though, we are told that we are going to be getting test results back in August, September, where SBAC was typically October, November-ish. So hopefully we get those back, we get them unembargoed so we can actually share things out and plan and, again, influence our curriculum instruction and our curriculum development and instruction.
I think the good news, Susanna, is that although there is the strong likelihood, like Tyler said, that it's not comparing apples to apples, at the end of it, both assessments are still based on the Common Core, where before when we shift testing from NECAP to SBAC, the standards shifted. So the standards haven't shifted, so there's the possibility that with a significant amount of work,
Yes.
You can potentially sort of tease out how a grade level performed in third grade on ELA and compare it to similar sort of standards in fourth grade, but it won't be anywhere near as easy as just doing SBAC year to year.
So the main metric then is sort of where we land on the curve compared to the rest of the state, and if that moved very much, is that sort of where?
I think everyone is sort of yes, and I think at the end of the day, when it releases in August or September, what you'll likely see is the Secretary of Education come out and say, take these results with a huge grain of salt, because it was brand new for the entire state. There were significant issues with fidelity and testing and accommodations. RNESU did pretty well with it, as Tyler said, but around the state there were massive disruptions to assessment, huge problems with the system. So I just have no idea what the actual results will end up looking like. So I think everyone's sort of waiting with bated breath for end of August.
I mean, to give you kind of an idea of that, our teachers were not able to see a test until a week before the testing started for students. So,
That's not helpful.
yeah.
No.
It was, but I will say, our teachers really took it in stride, and they did really well with it.
And our students took it
Yes.
very seriously. So yeah, I think it's everyone's sort of let's use this as the baseline, and really be hopeful that for next year's window, the test will not only have more structure and fidelity, but there will also be, as with SBACs, there will be practice tests. Teachers can work with students to understand the technology behind it. As of this year, none of that was available to schools.
So is there a different measurement being used by the Department of Education in terms of the funding based on any of that, or is it still results?
Yep, Nope, no change, which was a massive plea on the part of the Vermont Superintendents Association, which was basically, you need to waive the accountability of this system because this is on you. And the Secretary of Ed is not able to do that because the feds are not able to support Vermont in doing that. So again, we're hopeful that this will sort of be a baseline year. They will allow you to, as in COVID years, you could use other things for your accountability. So in addition to Cognia, for instance, perhaps we can use the previous year's SBACs and also submit local Edmentum results, things like that. So we're just sort of all waiting at this point.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Tyler? Okay, well, thank you, Tyler, very much for your help in that, and helping us understand what curriculum does and how that helps our kids.
Thank you.
We're going to move into the executive limitation monitoring report for 2.9 equity. That should be in your packet somewhere. And at this time, I would request someone to make a motion to accept the monitoring report.
I move that we accept the monitoring report for policy 2.9 equity.
Thank you, Barbara. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion after having looked at it? Do you guys have any questions for Kristen? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that should be made mention at this time?
I just had a quick question to clarify where it says we're holding listening tours. What's a listening tour?
So we throughout, great question, Jessica, thank you. So we throughout this school year as administrators have gone to each of the schools on several different occasions to spend time in the buildings with teachers, but also with students. So for instance, at Barstow, there was an opportunity where central office administrators, other principals around the district sat around a group of Barstow students and really sort of listened to them talk about what was going well, what wasn't going well, what are their opportunities for student voice. What are the questions they asked? Like,
Who's a villain?
who's a hero? Yeah. Who or what is a hero? Who or what is a villain? So an example for that might be a student. A student might say, Mr. Myers is my hero, and here's why. But they might also say, the library is my hero because I can just sort of go by myself and spend time and read and quiet. So we did that in all of the schools, and we'll continue to do that next year.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Other questions?
Yeah. Can you say a little bit about Vector Solutions?
Blah. Sure thing. So Vector
I think I'll ask you now because you're going to
Vector
get it.
Solutions is the human resource software that every time someone comes that we do onboarding, they have to do a series of trainings legally for compliance for human resources. But annually, everyone, including myself, has to do trainings on anti-bias, equity. So we sort of go through, what are the other ones? Hazing, harassment, and bullying. So we annually, as a central office team with the principals, go through Vector Solutions, which is a national company. The trainings are pretty well done. They're all on the computer. We go through and say, these are the things that we want to make sure everyone does. And staff are supposed to do it by the first day of school. Principals, myself, and human resources continue to get email updates as people aren't, because we all know something happens and someone doesn't complete it. But that's what Vector Solutions is. It's sort of our online PD.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, so all of those in favor of accepting the executive limitation report 2.9 on equity, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, great. Then we are going to move on to our own board monitoring report 4.7, governance investment. That is in your packet. It is on page 37, 38. So what you're seeing on page 38 is our monitoring report from last year. It's on page 38 and 39. Apparently we didn't put in reasonable interpretations, but we did put in examples. Is there anything that we should be adding or looking at differently in this?
That's right.
Anything?
We'll want to update where it says district has Let's Talk. We'll want to update that.
But we still have it currently, actually.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
we
I
could,
guess, and if we're reviewing the past year, then I guess we wouldn't change it till next year, but.
Yeah. The only other thing I was thinking is that in lining up with what we've done in previous monitoring reports, we should change anything where we see Dr. Hubert or anything like that to change it to superintendent. We did talk about that in earlier meetings. Is there anything else that we should look at to change in this monitoring report? Okay, then I'm going to say that we're going to move on then. We don't need to approve that. Sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place on my computer. This is different. All right, governance process. We have a new policy for action. It is the first reading on RNESU policy, fire and emergency preparedness drills. You can also find that in your packet somewhere. Here it is on page 41. Can someone make a motion to approve and then we can talk about it?
I move that we approve the RNSU policy, where are we? EH, access control and visitor management? No. No?
Fire and emergencies
No,
first.
it's
What about,
actually
next one,
fire and
EH,
emergency
fire and emergency
drills.
preparedness drills. Okay, yep. I move that we approve
Is
that.
there a second?
Jessica.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess my question for you, Kristen, is that is this a new policy?
Yeah.
And is it required by the
Yeah.
state? or
Yeah,
something?
the state, it is. The state super kindly passed a piece of legislation 2 weeks ago that all boards have to approve by August 1st. Is it August 1st or September?
August 1st.
August 1st, a district level fire and emergency preparedness drill policy and access control and visitor management policy. We have both the fire drills and access control currently in admin memos. We will keep those as admin memos because they provide our building leaders with a little bit more detail. But yeah, we do need an RNESU level policy for both.
And is this a VSBA drawn up?
It is, yep,
Okay,
it's a model policy.
okay.
This is just at the RNESU level, right? We don't have to do this on the other board? This covers it?
Yeah, it's a supervisory union, district union level.
Okay.
Although it will go out.
I think
to
it will
the
go- yep.
Individual boards.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody see anything that they don't like or want to discuss?
Clarity on what the options-based response drill is. Does that mean, where's the option? Is that the school picks what type of drill they're doing, or is it the option at that time we're running it?
Yeah, no,
The choices
That's a great question, Jessica. So options-based is actually a state and national level language, and it's actually Tyler's Lane starting July 1st. So this year, I don't know if anyone, Lothrop definitely ran options-based drills. I don't know that anyone besides options-based, or Lothrop really did. But starting next year, they have to both practice that, and they have to notify parents ahead of time that students are going to do those drills. So basically, options-based means our schools follow I love you guys language, which is secure, lockdown, right? Like that sort of is directing what we do in our schools. When an administrator or someone in the office makes the call to lock down, so say there's an intruder outside of school, or we got some sort of information that we want our school closed down, within the language of lockdown, by Vermont statute and in Act 29, schools need to practice for options-based opportunities, and they also need to make sure that students and teachers and families know the language of it. So options-based is basically within a lockdown, if you as an adult have information that allows you to make an informed decision on the part of yourself and your students, you have the ability to make those decisions within lockdown. Yeah, it's a lot, right? So several years ago, Vermont moved to run, hide, fight, right? So within lockdown, say there was a drill, or say there was an intruder, at the lockdown stage, teachers were training kids to either run, hide, or fight. Vermont and nationally has sort of shifted from that to say to teachers and adults, if you have specific information, use your best judgment to keep yourself and your students safe. So it isn't even saying about run, hide, fight. It's saying if you know that someone is a mile down the road and you can get out that direction, you get out. It can also mean if you don't have any other information and your administrator has called for a lockdown, you stay in lockdown. But basically what schools have to do next year is provide an opportunity, space and a time to tell parents what that language looks like, tell students well ahead of time what that language looks like, and practice it, right? So next year, what is it, 3 times a year they have to run a drill?
Yeah, 3 times, but for the most part, we're doing every other month.
Yeah, so every other month, they'll probably do an options-based drill where, an administrator might come over the airwaves and say lock down, and then he might give, I don't know how they even practice it.
We'll have to set the scenario.
So Tyler and with the principal will probably set the scenario so teachers and students can practice it. It's a lot. It's scary. It's scary both because you're making decisions for yourself, and it's scary because you're making decisions for students. And a huge part of this has to do with, again, Act 29 guidance from the state and the Vermont Safety Center and the National Safety Center.
With that, for the teachers, there's training that they have to be able to make decisions?
Yep. And I think in terms of, so Tyler, again, that's Tyler's lane. I don't know if do you want to add anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of training, that's going to be basically our in-service time in August when we come back to school. There's going to be quite a bit of training for that, for threat assessments, for mental health. Really, safety is our main focus for that part of the time. And then, as Kristen was saying, for those option-based drills, it's going to be myself and the principals sitting down for every time we know we have an option-based drill coming up, is setting the scenario. What are we going to be practicing for? And then, giving that kind of scenario to the teachers to say, this is what we're doing. And then we will, obviously, after every drill, have a active, what's the word?
Stand-up faculty meeting after?
Yeah, stand-up faculty meeting after, and then go over the process so we can, basically, as a group, learn from the process.
And this is one of the reasons why it's legislation, and it's also just good practice to tell parents ahead of time. And so that as students come home on that day, parents can talk about it with kids, and then parents can reach out to schools to say, hey, my kid had this question, or I have this question, or my kid has this fear. Again, it isn't completely new, right? Like our schools have been doing options-based this whole year. The state moved to this guidance 2 years ago. Again, we used to be barricade, right? We used to be close the doors, put everything you can in front of the doors, and hide. The state shifted from that 5 years ago.
With that, yeah, it's not
Something like that. So we have been doing this, but what we haven't been doing is practicing it with students, and we certainly haven't been talking about it with kids and with parents. So that will be the shift for RNESU schools and across the state for next year.
So in this document, are the terms options and approach interchangeable? Because further down, it talks about the district needs to decide which approach is appropriate. Is that which of the options, or is that referring to something different?
In which part? I'm trying to.
Sorry, I lost my. So after it says definitions on the options based, in that first administrative responsibility bullet number 1, it says the district must evaluate which approach is best and adapt it, to different ages, disabilities, etc. So by approach, what does your approach refer to? Is that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question, Susanna. So that means like what we do, the drills we run, the language we use, basically how we facilitate the whole thing will be very different at, for instance, a preschool site to an elementary site to a middle school to a high school, right? Like so.
But the teacher in the classroom still has the ability to assess a specific situation and run with their own plan?
Well, yes, but yes and no. One, this is
Within
why
a
this,
framework?
yes, it's within a framework. This is all a part of the
Okay.
training. Like it will come down to even as even the grain size of this is the language that you use with your kids, right? And this is language that you don't use with your kids. For instance, I don't even think you're allowed to say run, hide, fight to early elementary school kids anymore. That's scary. That's a, right? Like, so that isn't the language that we use with students anymore. So yeah, I think that approach in that sense means, Susanna, like what level of drill you're running at, how you're making those decisions. But options based is basically the language of flexibility within a lockdown.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Kristen at this time on this policy? Okay, so I would entertain a vote. All those in favor of adopting the policy, whatever it was called, EH, Fire and Emergency Preparedness Drills, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, we have done our first reading, so we'll see this again back in August. We have one other new policy, which Kristen alluded to earlier. It also says it's policy EH. I think that might be wrong. But it's access control and visitor management. Can I get someone to make a motion?
I will move now that to adopt policy EH, access control and visitor management, or whatever we're going to call one of these policies if they can't have the same
Okay.
name or same code.
And is there a second? Did I hear a second? I'm sorry.
Jessica.
Thank you. Okay, any questions on access control and visitor management for Kristen?
No.
Okay, anybody else?
And like I said, Lori, we have really long admin memo on just this, which is far more detailed. So, yeah, this is, we do this, so.
Great. Can you just check with Pam or whoever about making sure that the two policies have different codes?
Yeah, I think
I don't know that it makes
she's,
a big deal, but
yeah,
both say EH.
she's within the right letters. So yes, I will.
All right. That's good. All right, then I would entertain all of those in favor of this policy and adopting it, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, we've adopted 2 policies and we will see them again in August. All right, what else have we got on our agenda tonight? Oh yes, hot lunch rates. So we have, the AOE recommended we set paid meal prices as a formality. Meal rates have not been adjusted since 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Vermont legislature has overwhelmingly approved universal meals for fiscal year 2024, which is waiting on the governor's signature. These meal rates will only apply for adults and students purchasing a second meal. So the motion is to set student hot lunch rate at $4. Fiscal year 21 was at $3 for students and $5.25 for adults. And it was $4.45 in fiscal year 21. And breakfast rates at $2.45 compared to $2.30 in fiscal year 21 for students. And $3.50 for adults. Fiscal year 21 was a rate of $2.95. Would someone like to make this motion?
So moved. As long as you don't make
Thank you,
it.
Barbara. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion.
Can you explain the purchasing a second meal? I guess I'm just,
I think that only means like they get their first meal for free based on the legislation. And so that for some reason they wanted to buy a
There are,
second meal, which
and
most
which
people
happens,
wouldn't.
especially at the middle and high
Maybe
school.
for visitors.
okay, got it.
No, it does actually happen that students want more than one lunch, yes.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh.
Huh? Your daughter does it every day?
I just didn't understand
And
the
how
wording,
did
that's all.
Brenda come up with these rates? Did she just, is it something that was she found or?
I think it's a pretty common rate across the state.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, then all of those that approve the motion made by Brenda and seconded by Susanna, I think it was,
Brenda.
on our hot lunch rates
Who's
and
Brenda?
breakfast rates, please signify by saying aye.
I. You got it.
All those opposed?
I was like, what?
Who's- oh, okay.
She is very
Okay.
powerful though, Brenda.
She is.
Superintendent vacation accruals. The board recognized the superintendent did not have an opportunity to take her vacation according to her contract in her first year as superintendent, and therefore waives the fiscal year 2023 vacation carryover limit of 10 days, authorizing carryover of all unused vacation leave. And so as we all know, Kristen did a spectacular job as our superintendent in her first year, but there was lots of things that came up that did not allow her to take a needed vacation other than last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe it was, for a few days. So if we can make the motion to approve that her vacation gets carried over to, that she didn't use to next year.
I would like to
This
make
would
that
be a
motion.
one-time only thing. I would love someone to make that motion.
I will make that motion.
Okay,
Yes.
is there a second?
I can second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
You won't see me at all next year because I'm going to be taking all my vacation.
Yeah. We'll find you. So. All right, there's no discussion. We can vote. All of those in favor of the motion to allow the superintendent to use, to take all of her unused vacation for 2023 and roll it over to 2024, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, thank you. ESSER plan update.
Yeah, not much. We sent it out to all families and board members last week. Tyler did a ton of work on it with his team and with Brenda. So it's posted on the website. Folks are welcome to give feedback. But the good news is, as the final iteration of ESSER rolls out here, that we are fully budgeted, which is good news because you lose that money if you don't spend it. So.
Great. Okay, any questions regarding ESSER for Kristen? Okay. So we need to review our annual board work plan. I would love it if you would confirm to me that we're not meeting in July, because I don't plan on showing up.
Yes, that's,
Um,
yes.
And I'm thinking, and I'm just thinking this now while I'm sitting here in my hotel room, that a board retreat for us, I think makes sense, possibly to do it jointly with Otter Valley and BUU, to have some training from our lawyer, that would not necessarily, it would be a retreat, it would not be a warned meeting. I've talked a little bit about this to Kristen, but I'm wondering what your thoughts are. And it's mainly to talk, what are our rules and responsibilities from a legal standpoint? I think we all need to know that. And those are not things that we would want to do in a warned meeting. And I also didn't want Pietro to do that 3 times.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Now, having said that, as far as determining a date for our August board retreat, I know some of you are probably going to be taking vacation in August before school starts. If you could, we might send out a doodle poll just to find out what's best for everybody. I'm thinking like the 3rd week of August, but I don't know what everybody's travel plans might be, if you have any.
Did we already set ours for you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have one, you set yours on Monday, August 21st.
That's what I thought, okay.
Okay.
That 3rd week?
Yeah, it would probably be sometime through there. We might even piggyback, just to do that. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I'll talk to Kristen. But as far as having Pietro come, it just makes sense for all of us to do it. And then instead of RNESU having its own board retreat, that we kind of maybe we all come together as full boards for this particular training. So, and I'll talk to Jessica more and see what her thoughts are. So, if that's okay with everyone.
That sounds fine.
Yeah, and we have day 2, which is that Saturday of that same week,
Okay.
26th.
All right. So I'll make sure I catch up with Jessica in the next week or so, and we'll confirm a date, and we'll also talk to Pietro and see what we can do. Okay. All right. So, Kristen, do we need the executive session?
We do not.
Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn, unless someone has something else they'd like to talk about.
No, just sorry, y'all had some connectivity issues and then updating the app rather, trying to get on here, so apologize there. But I think I'm getting it sorted, so look forward to joining the full meeting whenever we have it next time.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to it as well. All right, then. Who wants to make the motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Okay, Barbara, is there a second?
A second.
All right, well, everyone have a great summer, and we will see you in August.
Bye.
Lori will miss you. We'll miss you
Yeah,
today.
I'm going to jump onto the second meeting just for a few minutes.
Thanks, everybody.